They thought he'd just stand there. I knew better. He was already winding the spring. Evan Hale leaned against the water valve wheel. Her finger was inches from his face, voice cracking the air. Restricted area burned on the sign behind her. He tilted his head, counted the rise in the spillway. 3 seconds, 4. The crowd shifted. Marla's hand jabbed closer, brushing the metal rim. Evan's knuckle tapped twice against the wheel. Once for the insult, once for the timing. She'd just chosen the harder way. Evan didn't argue. He measured the waterline with his eyes, then let a thin smile settle. He knew this dam, every contour, every groan in the gates, every swirl where the spillway bent east. It wasn't in any manual. It was in calloused hands. Early walks with his father, boots wet from morning mist. His father never wasted words, but every spring he'd say one thing. "The water speaks for you, son. Let it do the talking." Evan kept that. Even after the old man was gone, his eyes moved over the slope. Fresh pine, new stain, cabins sitting too low for the kind of rains this valley knew. No need to squint. He saw the line in his head, how it would rise, how a steady rain and one turn of the wheel would change the view. In the shed, a folded hand-drawn map, edges curled, coffee ring in the corner, ink faded to gray. Max 11, 1845. No higher without notice, no lower without cause. Most folks forgot that number. Evan didn't. Neither did the county recorder. In his pocket, a leather logbook. Dates, rainfall, gate positions, decades of water. He could find the page without looking, the one underlined twice. He'd opened it last night, after the HOA's letter came. Kitchen light low, rain on the glass, Max Alev, 1845. Now, with Marla's voice cutting through the crowd, he set his hand on the wheel, not to turn it, not yet, just to feel how easily it would move when the time came. The first move came quiet. No gavel, no knock, just the crunch of gravel and the scrape of a clipboard against a jacket sleeve. She was blonde, tan lines sharp at the wrist, sunglasses that made the lake look smaller. Her name wasn't offered, didn't need to be. The HOA sent her. 2 steps past the willow, she planted her flats. Exactly 2 shoe lengths inside Evan's survey line. A staple gun clicked, metal jaws bit into cedar. The notice flapped once in the breeze. Community shoreline access, effective immediately. Her free hand adjusted a boundary stake, inched it left, into his dirt. Evan's eyes didn't follow her face. They traced the line from that new stake down to the water. Prefab cabins sat waiting on poured slabs, 5 of them, more coming. She was marking the future, a public amenity, bathrooms, kayak racks, and just enough signage to feel official. The staple gun fired again, sharp, hollow, catching in the back of his teeth. Cole Ramirez, the dockhand, passed with a coil of rope. Didn't slow, but his eyes, they caught on the old rusted marker by Evan's gate. Half a beat, then gone. The woman with the clipboard didn't notice, or didn't care. She signed the bottom corner of her notice, looped letters, pressed hard enough to dent the paper. Evan looked at the shadow the stake threw on the gravel. It was short now, would be longer by evening. He slid his thumb over the leather logbook in his pocket, not to open it, just to remind himself. Time leaves its own record. The last staple snapped in. She stepped back, admired her work like it was art. The notice rattled softly in the wind. So did the chain on his gate. Evan said nothing, but the wheel under his palm felt lighter than it had this morning. Some lines never should be crossed. You've seen it. You've felt it. If you believe in quiet justice, stay here, subscribe, and share your side. Evan didn't push back. Not in words, not yet. 2 days after the clipboard stunt, a GPS rover rolled slow along his shoreline, an orange tripod, a beeping receiver. He watched from the dock, coffee cooling in his hand. The man running the survey didn't speak to him, didn't need to. The hum of the equipment said enough. Someone wanted new lines on old ground. By noon, Evan had the data, coordinates, elevations, deviations from the original plat. He printed them, slid them into a folder marked Hydrological reference dash 1924 to present. That night, he drafted a letter, calm, neutral, almost polite. A friendly reminder about dam safety protocol, how all structures must remain outside the design flood zone, defined by the natural high water mark. CC'd to the entire HOA mailing list. His tone was steady, impersonal, exactly what you'd expect from a man who wasn't picking a fight. On paper, it was just maintenance procedure. In truth, it was a tripwire. Because the flood zone wasn't theory. It was recorded, surveyed, and signed off nearly a century ago. And every inch they were building on, within that easement. Morning after, he was at the sluice, grease gun in one hand, rag in the other, working each bearing until it turned without sound, fingers slow, deliberate, like a man tuning an instrument only he would ever play. Across the fence, Nora Briggs paused her walk. She glanced at the survey stakes, then at the clipboard notice. Her brow tightened. She kept moving. The HOA board barely noticed the letter. They thought it was theater, a formality, proof the old man was flinching. They didn't see the time-stamped photos filed in the dam log, or the GPS overlay printed on his desk, or the way his hand lingered on the sluice wheel after he shut the maintenance hatch. Evan let them keep their illusions. The higher they climbed, the deeper the drop. The meeting hall smelled of burnt coffee and folding chairs. Evan took the back seat. Let Marla have the floor. She was in her element, clipboard out, voice pitched to Carrie, talking about community amenities, like she'd been elected mayor of the lake. When the Q&A opened, Evan waited. 2 questions went by. Then he stood. 1 sentence, clear, measured. Who takes responsibility when the water hits the natural high mark? The room stilled. Marla laughed, a sharp public thing. It never gets that high. She didn't see the nods fade around her. She didn't hear the quiet scratch of someone taking notes. Evan sat back down, said nothing else. Let the air do its work. Minutes later, his turn at the table came. He slid a thin leather folder into the center, unsnapped it, laid out a single sheet, yellowed edges, coffee ring stain in the corner. Operational record, Whitaker Dam, 1928. A pencil notation circled in red. Max Elev, 1845. Next to it, a photograph from last week. Row of brand new cabins, foundation grade at 1844. Nora Briggs leaned in. Her eyes flicked from the number to the photo. Color drained from her face. Cole Ramirez's chair creaked as he straightened. He gave Evan the smallest nod. Can I get a copy of that? Across the aisle, a chair scraped loud against the floor. One of Marla's supporters stood, muttering, and left. 2 more followed. Evan didn't gloat. He closed the folder, tucked it under his arm. Inside, he was already counting days. Forecast said weekend storms. Enough to nudge the spillway right to safe max. Enough to prove the point without saying another word. The board moved to the next agenda item, but the energy had shifted. Marla kept talking, faster now, eyes darting to the photo still sitting in Nora's lap. Evan adjusted his cuff, once, twice. The sound of rain on the roof would come soon enough. Marla struck first. A bright white envelope in Evan's mailbox, fine for shoreline aesthetics. Threat of legal action if he didn't comply. 24 copies pinned to other doors. By sundown, whispers turned into nods. HOA had the numbers. Evan read it once, folded it, set it beside his maintenance log. At 7 a.m. the next morning, he signed the work order. Annual dam inspection, public record. Filed with the county infrastructure office. Checked the restore to natural high water mark box. 48-hour notice sent to all stakeholders. He sent it certified mail. Signature required. The return slip came back the next day, Marla Kent in blue ink, right under received by. By noon, crews in yellow vests moved along the spillway. Bolts loosened, sluice adjusted. The gauge needle rose in half-inch steps. 1 turn, another. Each a whisper of steel against steel. On day 2, Cole Ramirez stood at the access road with a clipboard of his own. He greeted residents drifting over to watch. Routine check, he said. Everything by the book. Nora Briggs arrived just as the first cabin posts dipped into the dark water. She held up a hand to the work crew. "I've reviewed the financing," she told the small crowd. "That survey? It's a fake. HOA funds are frozen." Murmurs spread, eyes shifted. By late afternoon, the lake mirrored the clouds, high and steady. Cabin decks sat half submerged, Adirondack chairs floating like loose leaves. Marla pushed through the gathering, face tight. This isn't floodwater," she barked. "It'll never get this high." She froze. The floating restricted area sign knocked gently against a cabin's lower step. Someone laughed, low and sharp. Others didn't bother to hide their smirks. Evan checked the gauge one last time. The needle held at the legal max, 1845, exact. He didn't speak. Didn't need to. Cole tapped the inspection report. Signed, certified, fully compliant. Marla's eyes flicked to the return slip in Evan's hand. Her own signature stared back. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't have to. In the silence, every cabin owner understood exactly why the water stood where it did, and who had put it there. The waterline eased back over the week. Inch by inch, the cabin stood clear again, skirts of wet cedar drying in the sun. Evan walked the shoreline at dawn, boots sinking in the soft, new mud. The lake was quiet. No voices, no hammers. A work crew followed in his path. They pulled driftwood from the rocks, set new riprap where the bank had slipped. The hum of their tools carried low over the water. Near the old willow, he found it, the stake his father had cut by hand. Grain dark with age, letters carved deep. Hale Dam, 1928. He brushed away silt with the back of his glove, stood there a long time. A single Adirondack chair lay on its side, one arm hooked on the stake. The legs wore a collar of dried lake bed, a pale line marking where the water had held it. By mid-morning, the crew anchored the stake in its place. Evan pressed it into the earth himself, boots firm, shoulders square. The scent of wet pine rose with each tamp of the post driver. A canoe slid past, the oar dipping without sound. The man at the bow raised a hand in silent greeting. Evan answered with a nod. Sunlight glanced off the spillway, flashing in narrow bands. Somewhere downstream, a gull wheeled and vanished. He stepped back, checked the line of the stake from two angles, straight enough to honor it, not so straight it could be mistaken for decoration. He left it like that, a mark to remember, and a warning if anyone cared to see it. The lake settled back into its rhythm. Ripples smoothed against the old shoreline. Sunlight slipped low, painting the dam in copper. Evan stood by the restored marker, fingers brushing the carved date, 1928. A touch light enough not to wear the wood. Some of the cabins still stood. Others leaned, half borne from the water, as if remembering a mistake. Paint peeled where waves had licked too long. Children's laughter drifted from the far bank. Not loud, not careless. The kind of laughter that knows it's welcome because it belongs. He watched the Adirondack chair lodged in the mud, one leg sunk deep, the rest catching the last light, bright yellow against brown silt. It would wash clean in the rain, or it wouldn't. Some people slowed when they passed the dam now. They looked, but they didn't linger. The sign still read, restricted area. It didn't need to say more. Evan turned the wheel once, only to feel its weight. Grease on the gears, metal warm from the sun. A machine that would move when it needed to, and only then. In the distance, Nora's canoe cut across the water. Oars dipping, rising, dripping. Each stroke steady, unhurried. Cole stood on the dock, tying off a line that didn't need tying. The wind carried the faint scent of pine sap. The same scent his father once said would outlast arguments. Because trees don't shout to keep their place. They grow into it. Evan's shadow stretched over the planks, longer now, blending with the shadow of the dam itself. Somewhere behind him, voices murmured, not in challenge, not in praise, just the low exchange of people who understand what's settled. He straightened the marker by a breath, not perfectly, enough for those who cared to notice. The sky over the lake held the brief blue before evening, the kind you can't keep, the kind you remember without knowing why. There are things that do not need to be fought for, as long as reason holds and composure stays.